Aries and Aries rising. This is your March 2017 forecast. So March is an interesting month of contradictions for you. Contradictions because you've got the Sun in the 12th house and Mercury there until the 20th of March. And the Sun in the 12th, of course, has you taking a back seat, reviewing and reflecting on the year behind you, because of course this is the month leading up to your birthday cycle. And so, there's a bit of meditation, contemplation, just like I said, pause, stop, review, reflect. But on the other hand, you've still got Mars and Aries until the 10th of March in your first house. So there's still a lot of outward activity. You're going after goals and objectives. So your physical energy is really being orientated towards outward goals and projects and objectives. But with Mercury and the Sun in your 12th house, there's a lot that's under review, under reflection. There's some ideas that you're keeping to yourself. So outwardly, there's a show of bravado, goal setting, orientation, but there is a bit of private contemplation, meditation, and review. Venus, of course, is going retrograde on the 3rd of March and until the 15th of April in Aries. So this is going to be in your sign. So let's look at what that means for you. In the first house, this is an angular placement, so it's very strong, so it's more likely to affect you than other signs because it's in Aries. So Venus retrograde. So Venus is that planet of love, affection, harmony, money. So affection, commitments, love, and relationships are really under review. So a Venus retrograde, it could be a chance to reconnect with friends or partners from your past, significant others. So you may decide to look somebody up, or to your surprise, somebody from your past could look you up as well. Venus retrograde in the first house, it's a good time to renegotiate, relationship contracts. So relationships really come up under review. Generally speaking, Venus retrograde, it's not a good time for impulse buys. You're feeling a little bit less practical than usual when it comes to your spending habits. So, things that you buy, luxury items in particular, may disappoint you a little bit down the line, so use your discernment. On the other hand, it is said to be a good time to pick up bargains. So if you know the value of something and the seller doesn't, then it's a good time to swoop in and pick up that bargain. So secondhand things also, it's a good market for that sort of thing. So purchases can be good if you're getting a bargain. Okay, so with the Sun in the 12th house and Mercury in the 12th until the 14th, you may find yourself keeping some ideas and opinions to yourself. It's also a good time for research, study, contemplation, meditation. If you do find that you're keeping too much bottled up, it really is, you shouldn't at this point, go too far with that. So if you need to confront certain issues, don't keep silent on everything because it could hurt you further down the line. From the 20th, of course, the Sun is moving into your first house, and this is the start of your birthday cycle, so happy birthday in advance. So the Sun in the first house, there's a lot of energy, a lot of vitality, a lot of vigor, a lot of confidence. So this is really the time of year when you want to be self-focused, self-invested. You're more in tune with your inner identity and purpose, so it's really time to consider how you present because, you're feeling charismatic, you're feeling more forceful, you're feeling more goal-orientated. So this is all about putting your best foot forward, making a strong impression on others, and, seizing opportunities. You're feeling more brave and daring, and of course your sign is known for taking risks, taking gambles, and, so this is that time where opportunities are going to come your way and you want to make the most of them. Mercury will be in your first house from the 14th onwards as well, which is really going to help the Sun's agenda. So with Mercury in the first, you're feeling more articulate, mentally and physically, you're also more busy. This is a good placement for a hustle. So good for business, trade, commerce. So you're mentally feeling very quick and very versatile. You're also feeling more objective and detached. So for that reason, it does favor business negotiations and, taking initiative because your mind is pretty clear. You're feeling detached and objective. With Mercury in the first, though, you do have to just watch out because of that restless energy. There's a tendency to get involved with too many things. So you want to narrow your focus and make sure you tackle the most important things first. So as I said, Mars will be in your first house until the 10th. So there is a lot of outward energy and activity. It's still about getting certain goals realized. You want to be recognized for what you're doing. So lots of upbeat and independent external activity, while privately you may be keeping some things to yourself, or a certain project is, or an area of study is something that you're doing in private at the same time. So Venus, as I said, is retrograde in your first house. So relationships, values, material possessions, all of these things are under review. With Venus in the first, it could also be a time when you're more invested in your personal appearance. So it could be that time for a makeover. So you're interested in your appearance, you're conscious of your appearance, you may be making judgments on others about their appearance too. So in terms of dating, you may find that you assess someone or judge someone a bit too harshly based on appearances alone, but you are just thinking more in that way at this time. So it could be time for a wardrobe and a personal makeover. So, like I said, old lovers, old partners, old friends can come into your life at this time with Venus retrograde until the 15th of April. So some surprise encounters may happen. So let's look at the aspects this month. On the 1st of March, we've got the Sun conjunct Neptune in your 12th house. So the Sun and Neptune together can go one of two ways. In the 12th house, this can show an interest in occult and spiritual matters, and also heightened sensitivity and intuition around those areas. On the other hand, the Sun and Neptune in the 12th can show escapism through Neptunian avenues, which is substance abuse, alcohol, so there may be a tendency towards that kind of disintegration or personal indulgence at this time. But like I said, occult interests and studies are also favored. On the 2nd of March, we've got Jupiter opposing Uranus from your 7th to your 1st house. And this is a very important transit or aspect this year. This aspect is in your angular houses, the houses of self, outward projection, and relationships, significant one-on-one partnerships in particular. So Jupiter opposing Uranus, what does that mean? There's a desire for release from restrictions and obligations, and for you this is around partnerships and commitments to other people. So when this aspect goes exact, you may find events conspire in such a way that they release you from certain obligations and restrictions. So you may find also that you need to give your partners a lot of freedom at this time, because you may be the source of restriction and obligation in their lives too. So looking for freedom from restriction and partnerships, a big theme for you with this aspect. On the 4th, we've got Mercury conjunct Neptune in your 12th house. And this is a very perceptive, imaginative aspect, much like the Sun and Neptune. But with Neptune, it can also make you a little bit unsure of yourself, of your opinions. So though it's good for creative self-expression, you may find yourself less self-assured than usual. And it's also not a good aspect for legal contracts or sales agreements, because you can certainly be misled or not have a complete understanding of an issue under discussion at this time. So being misled, also a problem. On the 5th, we've got Mars, your ruling planet, trining Saturn from your 1st to your 9th house. And this is very good for patience and endurance and for difficult, demanding subjects. And for you, this could be around travel or study plans. So with Mars and Saturn, things don't have to be too glamorous and interesting for you to be invested and committed. So you can really buckle down and get on with things. So it's also very practical and utilitarian in its focus. So this for you is going to be around travel and study matters potentially, and just with higher aspirations, generally speaking. So the Sun is conjuncting Mercury, and those two planets, the Sun and Mercury, are sextiling Pluto between the 6th and the 8th of March. So these aspects together can be very good for changing or reforming a situation. What's really being stimulated here is the desire to problem solve, to get to the bottom of things, and for you this could be around an area of research or study, so really getting to the bottom of things and getting stuck in, so thorough work. You may also find an interest in, puzzle solving, mysteries, astrology, or healing modalities. So like I said, wanting to get to the bottom of things, and for you, this could really be around personal study or something that you're developing behind the scenes. So on the 12th, we've got Mercury squaring Saturn in a difficult aspect between your 12th and 9th houses. And this for you could potentially come up with legal problems or problems around travel and study. You can find that there's difficulty around communications or problems around comprehension, especially around these areas, so delays. In travel also can be a possibility, the ninth being that house of long journeys, foreign travel, so there can be some travel delays and difficulties. You may also find yourself a little bit more pessimistic under this aspect, so just push through. On the 12th of March, we've got a full moon happening in your 6th house. And with full moons, there's always that culminating energy, emotions are running high. And for you, this is in the house of work and health. So this could be that eureka moment where you decide enough is enough. You're starting an exercise or a diet plan, or you're quitting smoking or drinking for the foreseeable future. You may also find that you've had enough in terms of certain work situations, and so you can feel some real exasperation under this influence. But on the other hand, being the house of work, you could also find that some project comes to completion. So finishing up a work project. So, pulling everything together. So use this energy to resolve to change. This could be around your routines and habits, or just to get things done in terms of work. On the 17th, we've got a difficult aspect. The Sun is squaring Saturn between your 12th and 9th houses. And although this is a difficult aspect, it's at least brief. It can raise troubling issues, and again, with Saturn, it's those restrictions, abstractions, and delays, difficulties with authorities, potentially. And again, it could be around travel or study. Also, one tends to experience a bit of a low ebb in energy at this time. So you're feeling a little bit more inclined to be discouraged. So this can be difficulties around travel and study yet again. On the 18th, we've got Mercury conjuncting retrograde Venus in your 1st house. And this can be very good for declarations of love. You're feeling articulate. You're able to, give voice to those feelings. It does also favor financial and business dealings, and you may find it's a good aspect to renegotiate the terms of financial or business dealings. So on the 23rd, Mercury squares Pluto from your 1st to your 10th house, and this can be a difficult aspect too. It can be productive, but depending on how you use it, because it does give rise to obsessive thinking, preoccupation, fixation on things, and for you, this can be in the workspace. So this again can provoke arguments, or you could feel that you're being thwarted, or, there's problems that you're tackling that are just insurmountable, really. So, like I said, this could manifest in the workplace, so you could find yourself, presented with problems that temporarily seem to be unsolvable. On the 24th, we've got Mercury opposing Jupiter from your 1st to your 7th house. And with Mercury and Jupiter, even in opposition, this can be good for contract negotiations and things generally speaking, because you've got a big picture thinking going on, so you're able to look at things in terms of the sum of the parts, so the big picture, the overview. On the other hand, you do have to be very careful with details, so make a special effort to work accurately and to be more conscientious than usual, and this can actually be very favorable for business contract negotiations. On the 28th, we've got the new moon in your sign Aries, so in your 1st house. And we've got a lot of planets in Aries at this time. It's Venus, the Sun, Moon, Uranus, and Mercury, all in Aries. So lots of activity and energy for you in that 1st house. So this can manifest in many ways. It can be about personal reinvention, looking at it for a new look, so new wardrobe, personal appearance makeover. There's a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and this could be around changing personal habits or goal setting, ambitions and agendas that you want to get ahead with. So looking at things that are going to improve your confidence, whether it's in terms of personal appearance, new goals and objectives, and thinking about taking risks to get ahead. So with new moons, it's always that startup energy that you want to run with. You want to take action for the next 2 weeks. And for you, it's really going to be about you and the world, personal projects, agendas, personal appearance, personal habits. So very positive energy here for putting your best foot forward. So the month ends with a strong aspect between Jupiter and Pluto. So this between your 7th and your 10th houses, so angular. And Jupiter squaring Pluto, this can really show you there's a lot of pressure to make a difference, to get ahead. So striving for power, feeling ambitious. So for you, it's ways to enhance your reputation, your social standing, So making a difference in your career, enhancing your reputation, thinking of ways to get ahead, to get to the top of the heap. So that energy is going to be very strong for you, and those are the areas that are going to be under consideration. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this forecast, please like and subscribe, and thanks so much for listening.